Hi, I am Dr. Kiran Chakravarthula, an Associate Professor with the Department of Electronics and Instrumentation Engineering at Vignana Jyothi Institute of Engineering and Technology, Hyderabad. I am also the Global Relationships Officer and the convener for the Institute Innovation Council at the Institute. And today, I wanted to discuss ethics, a very important topic, but not much spoken of a lot of times. We know about ethics, we discuss, we understand what ethics is, we have a vague understanding of ethics, and we think we already know it and that we care. But do we? Do we care enough? Do we know enough? Is what I would want to address. And I hope the key takeaways from this talk would be eventually helping you understand why one must be ethical and what benefits one may get when one is ethical and what can happen if one is not ethical. Let's see what ethics has got to offer to us implicitly and explicitly. So, look at the world around us. The world is full of people. We have a sense of ownership, a sense of belongingness to the world that we live in. We feel this is ours. We know there are other systems, there are other life forms and objects in the world. But we have this sense of ownership and a sense of assurance about the world. And that comes from various aspects. We'll see that in a bit. But the world that we live in is also dynamic. It's changing constantly. It's evolving very fast. And we call it VUCA. A VUCA world which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The world that was yesterday is not the world that we live in today, and this is not going to be the world tomorrow. And we say that not just with a sense of suspicion or a sense of insecurity, but also a sense of hope. We actually hope that our tomorrow is better than today. But what's happening is we think of the next generation. When we think of the next generation, we try to give everything in a better form than we had. But the world, are we actually giving a better world to our future generations? And if at all we are not, environment is a great example, by the way, that we are not really giving a better world to the next generation. So, in terms of ethics or in terms of a society, in terms of humanity, are we actually giving them a better world? Is a question that we definitely need to ponder, not just for our sake, but also in the larger interest of humanity and society at a global level, in fact. And today's world is not just VUCA, it's also getting to be impersonal. There is also a state of affairs where we have disrupted every system for our own comfort and convenience. Technology has a lot of disruptions that brought in, and that is eventually leading us into more comfort, more convenience in our own lives, in our own interactions with one another in the society. But this world is getting to be more and more impersonal. Human being is systematically subtracted out of the big picture, out of the equation. We don't really need a human being to transact a lot of times in a lot of aspects. We are developing our technology, artificial intelligence or anything, automation at some level, in such a way that we don't really need human intervention in a lot of places. And that is of course good. We have a better life that way. But is it really the kind of the world that we want to be building for our future generations? And then this world also has misology, that is hatred of reason. We have slowly but systematically we have come to a stage where we forget questioning, where we don't really like logic, where we don't actually search for it. We don't look for it, we don't know whether we're doing the right things or not, but we just are there without questions, without answering a lot of questions also. And then there is this state called anomie, that is literally lawlessness. It comes from French, Greek roots, and it essentially means a state where the society is incapable, has rendered itself incapable of actually providing guidance in terms of morals, values or ethics. And in that world, this world is also real. This is the world that we live in. And that is also partly because, among other things, because this world of people is run by technologies and businesses. Technology and business run the show, and we actually want it that way for our own convenience and comfort. And in such a situation, what should we be caring about, and what should we be doing in terms of actually bettering ourselves as human beings? And here, there are a few concepts that I would want to introduce without getting too deep into ethics. One is conscientiousness, the intention to do the right thing. The other is integrity. It goes hand in hand with conscientiousness and actually stems out of conscientiousness, and that is the consistency that we have in terms of our thoughts and feelings, words and actions. And when we have the intention to do the right thing and have consistency in all these, coupled with the other concept called empathy, which is putting ourselves in someone else's shoes and thinking for them, like them, that is when we'll probably start behaving more human. And in all this, what we need to definitely consciously understand is that there is, in the human world, in all human interactions, there is an implicit expectation in terms of design thinking. We call it a latent need of ethics. We expect ethical behavior from others, and we need to give back to the world the same ethical behavior, because that adds up, or well, subtracts. If you don't do it, or if the other person doesn't do it, well, it subtracts the ethical fabric that is around us, that is beneath us. And we need to be able to grow on that, and for that we need a few more things. One is reciprocity, the trust, again, the assurance that positive action will give a positive response. Positive action will lead to more positive action. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to be treated good, and that is where it comes from. And that is stemming from what is called the golden rule. That is, do not do unto others what you do not want others to do unto you. Various cultures around the world have this as one major thumb rule to guide human behavior, and that is why it's called the golden rule. And then we have a sense of bonding. That is actually what makes us a society. That makes us human. A society that we can trust, that we can fall back on, even if we don't have our plans working like we want them to be. That kind of society, the feeling of affinity that we have with our own social group. And then branding. That is about the image that we carry for ourselves. We look at ourselves and think we are good, that I am not a bad person. And that is what we want from others also. We want others to look at us as good people, people who can be trusted, people who can be helped. And for that, it all starts with conscientiousness, integrity, empathy, and that intention of trust, which we have to put in constantly. And here, we need to also add one important aspect, that ethics. This is the most important thing, a takeaway from this talk. Ethics is a conscious choice. It must be a conscious choice. You cannot simply assume that you can be ethical. No, you have to make sure that you will be ethical, because you expect the world to be ethical. Remember the golden rule, right? You want to be what you want to be treated as. So be ethical so that you can be treated in an ethical manner. And once we do this with our human society, we can actually take this even to the technological advancements that we have in terms of artificial intelligence or machine learning. Just imagine, picture this. We develop the technology, and we need to actually add fairness as a concept in artificial intelligence today. Fairness. Technology doesn't know what unfair is, what fair is. It wouldn't be unfair if we were not unfair. We are unfair, we are selfish, and that implicitly, without even intending to, we actually corrupt the technology. We make that impure because we are impure. Once we actually correct ourselves in that path, that is when we can probably have a better technology that guides us, that actually makes our lives better in the process. And here, also remember that we all make mistakes. Dilemmas are real. Sometimes we don't know which way to go. There can be two ways that seem very true, very right, and you are not sure of the outcomes. So how do you go about it? Well, this talk is too short to go explicitly, in elaborate detail there, but I would say learning from mistakes is really important. Understanding that we are making mistakes is what is really important, and we need to excuse ourselves only to that extent that we are human and we make mistakes. We cannot excuse the mistake that we made. We cannot excuse and continue the mistake. At the same time, we need not hate ourselves, but we should not definitely justify ourselves. Make a mistake and feel guilty about it without an example, without a reason, without any kind of justification, without trying to understand or tell yourself that you are okay, you are not wrong. No, you are. And once you keep telling that you are wrong, your own image in your own mind goes down a little, and that will help you motivate to correct yourself better, and that makes you a better person. I'll conclude with one quotation by Swami Vivekananda, who said, ethics is the degree of faith in oneself. If you trust yourself so much, if you respect yourself so much that you understand that you can be ethical, you can be at your best self, well, that motivation can actually make sure that you will be your best self. So be ethical and ensure that the world around you is ethical. The world may not be fair, it may not be ethical when you start off, but once they realize that you are, the world starts being that to you. And when the world starts being that towards yourself in the micro society around you, expand that. And the whole world then suddenly seems ethical. That is the world we need to create for tomorrow. Thank you.